Here we are with my friend Leon, all the way from Norway, here in Bucharest, Romania. This guy's been coming to Romania longer than I have, and much history here, but not just in Romania, but across Europe, really serving people. When I think of your family, I think your family has invested in people, communities, and nations, and Romania is one of them. So that's the big lead up. Leon, tell us a little bit about how your childhood, because I think you had a very unique childhood and upbringing. Share a little bit about that with us, if you will.
I'll try. As I'm Norwegian, for the first, I come from Norway. My father, he is a gypsy. My mother is a non-gypsy, and they became Christian before I was born. Wow. So my mother started to going all over Norway to sing and to do evangelism, and my father too, and they connected and they married back in 66. I was born 68. My father had this business in Norway, having a lot of people involved. He had 12 employees, and he had this call all the time to go out and serve his people. That was the gypsy people and what you call now a Roma population in Europe. And then he decided to sell all his business. And he went out, I was 4.5. And he just, I think the way he talked, he opened the book and he said, God, where do you want me to go? And he just left then for Spain and went to the south of Spain. So I grew up in Malaga, between Malaga and Marbella, Fuengirola. And I went to international school, a Swedish school, but all my weekends were with the gypsy people because my father opened a lot of churches, a lot of schools, a lot of centers for the gypsies back when Franco was alive. And so that was almost like Romania here, like when you had Ceausescu. And so that was my growing up between the very wealthy, that was maybe one of Europe's most wealthy people, childs that went to my school, and these weekends where I had my gypsy friends. So I grew up. So that was my growing up, and after that I went back to Norway 85.
Okay. How old were you at this point?
Now should I tell on television? But it's 51.
How old were you when you went back to Norway?
18. 17,
okay, so
yeah, 17 and a half.
Raised up, you're a young man, you go back to Norway to explore what it's like to live in Norway.
I did, yeah.
What was that like?
It was different because I was coming from this environment where my father and mother didn't have anything, so every day everything was on faith. So see, he had some money when we came back down to Spain, but after that it was just by having this sponsor. He opened a lot of churches, also the international church in Spain. The first one's called Skandinaviska Turistkyrkan. And that was for Swedes and Danish people and Norwegians. So we had 300 or 400 people there every Sunday. And so coming back was different because I didn't know really. So I just became a typographer. So that's something that doesn't exist anymore. But I still have that letter from 4 years of working at school. Wow. And I married back in 89. And I have 3 children.
Great.
28, 26 and 23.
Wow.
So awesome. They are getting old now. So I married 21 years old. Yeah.
Awesome.
So Debbie and I are still together.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So you got married, raised a family in Norway, and your dad had this organization that he started called Europe I Fokus.
Europa I Fokus, yeah, correct. Yeah.
And really your dad had pioneered a ministry. And so how did he end up coming to Romania? I mean, he's living in Spain, from Norway. How did Romania hit the radar?
The story was that I get back to Norway in 85. I was 17 and a half with my sister that was one year younger than I was. And she and I, we just had to, we lived with our uncle and aunt and uncle, and so we were there for a year, 2 years before they came back to Norway. So my little sister was still with them. So my father opened a school back in Madrid with 400 a capacity of 400 on the big sale, and then, but also had a capacity of 40 students.
Okay.
So he started that, and after that he gave it over to the gypsy people in Madrid, and then they went back to Norway.
Okay.
And then he had it was difficult for him because he had this call, and he was not doing what he went back to his former business, but it was nothing for him. He was out of it for 20 years almost.
Yeah.
And then he still had this call. So he started he bought himself a car, this mobile home, and he went through Europe, then just following his faith and his call, and he was traveling a lot for the gypsies, with the gypsies.
Okay.
And then Ceausescu fell in 89.
Yeah.
So when that happened, he just had this call that he had to go and see how his people had it here. And then he came to the streets, he came to Gara del Nord, and he saw all these children that were living on the streets. That's back in 94. He came here, 93 was here for the first time. And then his heart just took, the country took his heart.
Yeah, yeah.
And the people took his heart. And then he made this big, I don't know, in the media of Norway and Sweden, it just became this immense hype, because they saw those small children on Gara del Nord with -20, without clothes, without food, without everything. And my father said, we have to do something. And then a lot of people just followed us, called him and said, we want to do something for these kids. So then we opened Vieta Silumina. So he was the founder of that, and he was the founder of the day shelter they had back around Gara del Nord, where we dealt out clothing. We had doctors coming down. We had all this food giving out every day, and that just grew. And he had this center for people over 18, and he developed a lot of in other places in Romania too, but still it started here, and we have been here since 1994.
Wow. 25 years.
25 years.
Wow. And what a similar, it was at Gara del Nord that I first came over to Romania with my dad. It was three years after that, or a few years after, and it was a life-changing experience, because when you see kids living in that environment, you can't help but want to do something to respond. You want to do everything you can to help. And I'm thankful your dad answered that call and was willing to do something about it.
And at that time, it wasn't many here. We had 2 or 3 organizations working, but remember, it was 3,000 people living around Gara del Nord without anything. And they just was sent out of orphanages because the state didn't have any more money. They were closed down, and there were no structure of how to take care of those children. And then, so it had to be private entrepreneurs that wanted to do something for these children, and many of them were from the gypsy community. So they didn't have any support by the Romanian people. They didn't have any support by the European community because they didn't care. So it has been that for many, many hundred years. And I think 80-90% of the people that came out from there were gypsies. So it was his call, so he could find back to that call he had when he went to Spain and back in 73, and see that he was used for something. So being there, and then we opened a lot of different shelters around Bucharest and also different parts in Romania for the gypsy population.
Wow. Yeah, when I think of your guys' impact in the country, it's diverse. I mean, from different organizations out in Arad, Campina, Bucharest, and your impact here. Tell me about, what is that transition? I know there's been a season of transition in your life. It was really a ministry that your father pioneered, and yet it's been on your shoulders for years. And then as of recent, your
Yeah.
daughter Carolina is now more and more involved, and that legacy is now third generation.
It is.
But let's rewind a little bit into when it's been on you. For how many years have you been leading the ministry and here, and what has that been like for you?
Well, it's my father died 5 years ago, back in November, so it's just past 5 years, and of course we needed to take a decision if we wanted to close the organization down, or we should continue to do the work. Yeah. But we were in so many programs and so many projects that we couldn't just pull out and take out the button. We had a lot of people supporting us from Norway. We had a lot of churches supporting us, and also a lot of businesses supporting us from Norway. So we couldn't just pull out. Yeah. And I've been in this board since 1996. Wow. So I was then 28 years old. So I've been in this business almost now for 25 years, and so it's, you know, something when you grew up. I grew up having my bedrooms ready for other people every day, every night, because when my father met people on the street having nowhere to go, he took them home, and it was so easy to take the biggest or the oldest only boy in the family, because I had two sisters, and I had to go and sleep on the floor, and we gave the bed to the one who needed it. So that was something I grew up with. So my heart was just I loved other people as much as I loved myself. So it was not but you know, when you have a father with all these big visions and all this big call, or whatever you call it, it's difficult, because as you come in, I'm young, I see things in very different aspects that my father did. It becomes really you have to, because you don't want to disrespect your father. You want to give him respect, even if you saw it in a different way. And maybe that generation didn't give space for me to really come up with my ideas how to do things. I just respected him so much that I just supported him. Yeah. And in the time I just said, because I had my own business back home, and I've been self-employed since 1993, just 4 years after marrying, and since this I did it to make my own money, to have my income. So I had a lot of creative ideas about how to do things, but so in the middle of the first 2 or 3 years, I just pushed on and said, why do we do this? And he wanted to do his way, and I just felt peace with just supporting him, being there for them, supporting their engagement, and then so. But suddenly, I almost quit many times, because it's difficult when you have all these ideas, and I just decided if I'm going to do this again, I need to find my way to do it. I cannot. I mean, it's so you're working with people, so you need really to find your place, and so that's why we also needed to quit some projects. Yeah. When I needed to find my projects, our projects that we could live for, and because it has to come from your heart. That's right. It has to come. If you present something, and people are smart, they're not stupid. They know that if you don't present it with your heart, you're never gonna be able to sell it, to have the sponsors you need, to have this money coming in, so you can do all these projects. Yeah, yeah. But after a while, I understood that I'm almost 50 years now, so my time is. So Carolina came to me, my daughter. She was at that time 22, 23. She finished the school of nursing, and she had worked for a year or half, 1 year and a half, and then she said, "Daddy, I want to go back. I want to go down to Romania and see what my granddad did." Yeah. And I said, "Of course, that's a blessing, because I need someone there." And she came back after that 1.5 years, and she said, 1 year, a little bit more than 1 year, and she said, "Daddy, this is something I want to do." And I said, if you want to do this, I will step back. I want you to really, I will support you doing the work. I will not be, I can come with my thoughts, but you need to take the decisions that comes from your heart.
That's good.
Because you are the generation, you are the new generations that see, and we had a lot of changes also in the organization, because it was a Christian organization. And my father was a preacher, and I was not. You understand? I was not a preacher. I was a businessman that wanted to do something good for people around us.
Yeah.
And I had my ways to think, and I said, and we were so much close to the churches. So the churches, I could not take it out of the churches because it was so founded in the churches and Christian people, but I needed to find a new generation, because my father went out with, he had 28 years, 30 years old, I don't know exactly how old he was, but 28 he was. And then those people that follow him from that time, they were still there. So it hasn't increased of how many people was engaged in it, but it was the people that was in it still was there, but they were getting 70, 80. They were dying, you understand? So all the base we had of income was just in a structural difficulty. Because so we needed to, I wanted to reach the youth people. So we started new thinking. We had more on the social platforms, Instagram. We needed to do a new different layout on our website and all the paper communication we did and all that. But I needed someone new, so I brought in a lot of new young members, 18, 22, 23, 28. And now we are just a lot of people that comes in, and I bring people now from Norway down here because they need inspiration, because their life are empty. They want to do something. And that can be non-Christian because we love them more, even more. I want to share what God put in my heart, but has nothing to do with... we all need it. We need someone that's bigger in life than ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. I really appreciate you were sharing this idea that young people coming from Norway, coming to Romania, and having an experience here where they get to serve people, they get to help, but really open themselves up to find, what the impact that trip has for them. While they come down to help other people, they turn around and realize that they themselves are the one that really gets blessed.
And another thing is, I think so many people now goes into that mode of getting a social platform or some. They all want to be working with the economy or the economists. That's a thing in Norway. Everyone once goes to the high school want to be economists, and they want to have these degrees on, I don't know what they call them. Because I have nothing of that. So, but the thing is that I have, when you are 23, 25, 27 years old, you don't really know what to be. You understand? You may took that school, but when you come and you start work, I have so many who become doctors or become lawyers and become whatever, and they invested so many years into it, and they start to work. When I said, this is not what I expected it to be. And then they just come up and say, what did I use my last 8 years for? And they get in this crisis in life, and they see that I would rather want to work with people, for people. And I can say the most exciting thing you can do, and it's working for people, with people, everything. You got to go to the grave, and it's not all the cars you had, all not the houses, but all the people you met in your life. This thing we have. That's right. That's the impacts. Those are the impacts that are going to follow us to the grave.
That's right. We sat down, at the airport here in Bucharest years back, and you were probably the first person that ever really told me this concept and said that I was a philanthropist. And I was a bit conflicted with it, because when I think of philanthropy, and I told you at the time, I was like, I don't have any money. What are you talking about? How can I be a philanthropist? And you told me, no, it's actually the love of humans, the love of people. Talk a little bit about that. What is a philanthropist to you? Because you are a philanthropist as well. And so tell us, what do you see a philanthropist? What is that?
If you go to media and see what philanthropists or who they are, Bill Gates is one of the first that comes up. And a lot of those rich people that want to be, and they are rich, they have too much, and they want to do something for other people. And I love that mindset. Mm-hmm. But to be a philanthropist, I think it's to all the things you are given, even if it's time, or if it's engagement, or if it's money, or it's about the motivation of philanthropist is to give whatever it is. If it's time, if it's money, you give it to people or to projects, or you find yourself doing it for the cause that it's bigger than you. That is because if you don't have that in life, what will engage you then? I don't understand. And we all need to find something that it's bigger than yourself, because if you're watching, you have to open your mind, and by that, as I said before, by doing that, you get so many connection with people, and it's so nice. Why can you not be a philanthropist? Why can that's of course we can.
Yeah.
Even if it's with $2 or $3, if that's the last money, and I say I felt in my heart I want to give that, you're a philanthropist.
Yeah. I like it.
Think big. Never think too small.
Yeah.
Think big. We are all philanthropists, and I think so, and we can be. That's awesome. If you want to be.
And your daughter is really a philanthropist as well. She carries in that family line and lineage of wanting to serve and help people. Obviously, just getting a degree in nursing tells you a bit of her heart. But here she is, coming to Romania, investing years of her life into this country and the people as well. What does that mean for you as a dad, looking at your daughter carrying that family history and doing it with so much love?
Of course, it's wonderful. I mean, it's the best thing. Me and Debbie, my wife, we always been that we decided to have this open house always. So people has been part of our lives. Children opening. I never said, if they came to me and said, "Daddy, can we have a party here Saturday or Friday?" Of course you can. I know them. I've been with their friends all their lives. I know them from they were small, and even now, with the most exciting thing, it's to have them coming into my house. I can leave, it's no problem. Yeah. Let them have it if that's what they need to do, and let's support them. And the best blessing you can have is that when you have children, you can care about others. Even if the children, they're old, or it's their love to compassion there, to see that they have this compassion for people, and see that. So that's a blessing. That's the best thing that can happen. So I have one guy, he's going to be a teacher. I love it. Another guy who's working with media. He was here now this weekend, and he was here for the first time. He's 23. And I was so proud to show them what their grandfather did, and so where. But I can see when he met these people at the streets, he met these gypsy families up in Bucharest. You could see his eye was just, what I need to find a way to do this. Nice. So to have them, of course, I would love. But as I say, I'm there to support. I'm not because I'm not too old. I don't feel too old. But the thing is that we are supporters. You don't push the young generation away.
That's right.
Push them in front. Right. And sometimes you need to go as a shield in front of them, because you get a lot of punishment. Yeah. But you take that, because I've been through that before. So that's the way it's secure, so they don't get hurt. Because that's another thing. You're working with people, so you're gonna get hurt. You know that. But I can see it earlier than she does. So I put myself in front as a shield. So it doesn't. Of course, it hurts sometimes also for an old body, an old man. But still, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
So.
That's powerful. That imagery of putting yourself first. To take that as a shield.
But also pulling back when it's needed, because
balance.
she's doing the hard work. She's doing all the paperwork. She's doing all the information. She's doing all the connections. I'm there in the project, supporting, getting the projects getting through, and just so. But we bring more young people into it.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I become, and they will be there for two, and then maybe the next generation sees that we want to support them.
Awesome.
It's all about supporting.
That's incredible. We were talking up in my office earlier about now you're really starting to do more, bring some of your history of entrepreneurship and business into the social impact and into the projects. Share a little bit about that. You're talking about the furniture. If you feel comfortable sharing that, bringing in old furniture and being able to help sell that into the Romanian market, secondhand products, and that can fund nonprofit work here.
Yeah. I worked together with some Norwegians called REC, REC, and that was the first company in Europe that took out silicium. And silicium, it's a material, and most of the cost of that is really power. I mean, electricity power to produce that. And silicium is a material that you use for a lot of making computers, making phones. Silicium, it's just the basic. I don't know. They have these motherboards.
Okay.
They you have a lot of silicium in those, and also in the sun wafers. That's silicium cut very fine. And I was able to work with these two guys who had this invention of it, and they put up a big production in the north part of Norway. So I was with them, and so I have always been an upstart. Seeing the opportunities, and I made then we started up a big IT company taking care of all the government softwares, IBM big computers. Also worked very close to Citrix when that was launched in Europe. So I became almost the chief of Europe on Citrix, but I never wanted to. It took all my time. I couldn't do whatever I wanted to do. This.
Yeah.
So I decided to pull out of that, and I started my own business doing buying and selling cars, because that was easy, and I had a lot of connections. Bought and sold 400 cars a year, just by myself. I had one guy with me, and I had to take. And watch and see maybe 9,000 cars a year. Had to pick them up. But that was a good business for me, and it was easy, and that gave me time. So every time I went to Romania to sit in the board meetings here in Vietashulimina, I just sold more cars than ever. Okay. So it was a blessing. So I felt now this is my path. Yep. And then I decided to go over to real estate. And real estate became then, but small. I never had these big dreams. I wanted to have a good home, a nice car, and still be able to go to vacation with my children, be able to show them the world and so. But not that I was happy with that. I didn't know so I was not. Never had the intention to make. Of course, I was lucky. Maybe I could. But I'm so happy now that I'm 50 years now, 51, and I'll be able now to use my time as I want. Yeah. But still, so then I came up with this idea, or together with the organization up in Campina here, also that we are now having a storage for 5,000 square meters up there. So that was the biggest issue, because a company came to me in Norway and said, listen, the thing about recycling now that's not what we want. We want reuse all materials, all the building materials shall be reused. That's our policy. That's environment. That's recycling is not, because then it's so much gases, it's so much things going on, and so expensive. You have to go the transport here and there, and so the reuse of materials. That's what we want to do. And they came to me, and I had 60,000 square meters of offices that was going to be pulled down in the mid-center of Oslo. And I couldn't take it. And it was doors, it was windows, it was furniture, it was lamps, it was insulation, it was everything there. And that was renewed maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. But they wanted to turn all that and build up a new structure and everything. The buildings were from 1960, but all the time they were renewed. There were fire doors, things that costed many, many millions of euros. Many. And I couldn't take it. And then suddenly this, some friends of me in Norway then came back with this, and Marshall called me from Campina and said, Leon, we have these possibilities now to take. And I have the storage. It's about taking the furniture and reuse it. So they have been now taking down a hotel in Norway. They have been able to sell a lot of furniture, a lot of lamps, a lot of everything. Beds. They have 300 beds in that. And the beds they were Jensen special made in Norway. But the mattresses were costing new maybe 1,000 euros. But still they were 2 years old.
Wow.
And the point is that the company that was going to make that new hotel, taking down all the old hotel, they had to pay 250, maybe 350,000 euros to just do the demolition of those parts.
Just to take all of
it was because that's environment, that's how they want. You have to pay a fee on doing that.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, to the organization up here, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they brought 10 people up there. They took all down and put it into containers. The company bought and paid to pack the containers, paid to send the containers, and still they were saving 200,000 euros.
Incredible.
And for here, it was 200,000 euros income.
Sold on the second hand.
So it's about, and this is the path we want to go now. We have a lot of clothes companies in Norway now that they just destroy the clothes because they don't want the clothes to be in the market. Even if it's 2 years old, if they put it into the market, that will be bought. If they put it on half price or minus 70%, then it takes buys from their new stuff. You understand? Yeah. So they cannot put it into market. And I come to them and say, I want to buy the clothes. I pay you 5 euros for that. And the price retail maybe was 300 euros. And then we can take that, put it up to sale here, and not dealing with second-hand clothes. Yeah. We do it with new clothes, put it up. So we have a lot of things. You may have some ideas how to put up new, and we want to be there. You and me, Ryan, we'll be there for the upstarts to come with and be there to inspire you, to give you what we've learned during our years here, what not to do and what maybe to do.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's, I think that's something that spurns in my heart.
It's good. I love it. I love it. You're taking your history, your strength, and really what you know, and you're bringing that and going, how can I use this to make an impact in Romania and in your own unique way? And so I absolutely love that. You know, we're all about pushing how can business be a force for good, and you're modeling that in another way. And then I think the idea of being external, being in Norway and coming and investing in Romania as a foreigner, you have an opportunity to see things differently. Yeah. You come in and you come out, and that's a really good thing because when you come back in, you can see the changes. You see the market differently because you're not. I say you're not street level, you know. In Google Maps, you can go down to street level, and that's how most of us see life. Yeah. But when you actually leave and come in, you get a different perspective on the market, and I think that's really refreshing to come in, not just to do good business, but to make an impact in the country through that business. Yeah. And in closing, the last thing I always ask people, a bit of a random question, but what is good to you? When you think of good, how would you define it? What is good in your own life, and from your perspective, how would you define good? It's always the toughest question.
No, but good is, I felt that just now, last 10 weeks, it's all about being healthy. If you're not healthy and try to live the way that you're healthy, I mean, without health, I'll be able to do nothing. So we had this thing, and it's just, so you have to prepare yourself to be able, as soon as possible in your life, to be able not to have whatever it's in your dreams, but don't let that stop you to meet other people, to meet others that you can be there for. It's so much nice to be there for people than to expect a lot for people. And I don't know but to be there and feel that you are needed and that's good. I think that's even better than anything. It's to be able to give. That's for me better than to be given.
That's right.
It's my father and my mother always told me that we have been there without food. We've been there. I remember Christmas we were sitting and we didn't have anything. And of course we were Christians, so of course we prayed, simple praying, but it was just, God, if you are there, please give us some food, because we have nothing. And we're 3 sisters, and suddenly, knock on the door, a Swede come in with this bag full of food, and I experienced that when I was 10 years old. And that makes that extremely big impact. So I want to do that impact for other people. To just come without the expectation and just come there and serve them. That's so much better than, because we were happy getting it, but I think the guy who came and saw that we had nothing and be able to give it, it was maybe a bigger thing for him, I think.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. You've turned around and taken and experienced so much in life, and I think you've purposely chosen the right path, because you could, somebody with your childhood could easily be one of the most selfish persons and go, I didn't have it when I was a kid, I'm going to make sure I have it now. And yet you chose to go, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to give in a way. I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that person that knocks on the door with a gift. And I think you've done that in this country. Your family has done that. And so really appreciate all
I just want to say one thing, right? I think even if you don't have money, you have the time. Pick up the phone, call your friends. Call them every week if you just to check out if he's okay. Start with that. And you just by doing that, and thank, I don't know, the moon or the sun or whatever, that you have your people around you, your family, they are healthy, or they are, or at least that you are together. You wake up in the morning, you need to find small things that gets you, and it's so many of them. I had a friend of me, he was so down, he had a lot of problems with the children and blah, blah, blah. And I said, Leon, I wish I had this thing you have, waking up in the morning, be so happy for everything. I'm not always happy, I think, but I find those small things in life. I have my house, I get I have food on the table, I have clean water I can drink, I have, I don't know, a lot of these small things. I wake up, it was sunny today, or it's raining to look, but small things that gives you, and start to thank whatever. For me it's Jesus, for me it's God, but for other maybe it's not, I don't know, but still, and it will do something with your mind just to be positive, to go up in the morning and see it's a possibility, there is something that I want to reach for. So as long as you are energetic, positive, and see the small things, start to thank for the small things, you will see that the big things are just getting more bigger than it was. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing your story, being transparent about it, and just the way in which you lead and the vision you see for this country. Thanks for being here with us today.
God bless you, Ryan.
Thank you.